Jeannie's top. Just a little bit of pattern work and a lot of fun. Well, I think you all know by now that I love this crazy stuff called patterns. I just really enjoy it. I haven't figured out why I do, but I really do. But we've got a really fun project that I'm going to bring you today. It's called Jeannie's Top. And the only reason it's called Jeannie's Top is because Jeannie sent it to me. And I get a lot of things sent to me, you guys, and I love it. I really do love it. I just don't want anybody to get their feelings hurt if we don't use it. Some of the things I get sent, we've already done. And I realize, there's a lot of information out there. So don't worry about that. If you see something that you think is terrific, and I don't mean good, I don't mean great, I mean off the charts terrific, by all means send it to us because it's really fun. You all can be out there shopping and looking, and I can tell you how to do it. So we make a great pair. And I enjoy the projects, and I enjoy breaking them down for you and showing you how to do them. All right, so this was from Jeannie, and so this is called Jeannie's Top. So what we're going to do is break it down into the 3 sections. We do the pattern work first, and then we do the fabric and think about fabrics we're going to use and placement on the fabrics, and then we go do the sewing. So I'm going to go through each of those. And we're going to have a top today that I'm really excited to have finished because I want the top. All right, so I started with Ayakila's asymmetrical top. It's pattern number 127. It's a new pattern. I started with this one because I felt like a lot of you had it. We sold a lot of these patterns, and I figured it was a good start. The base of this pattern is 195. It's the sweater set. So if you want to start there, you can. You're just going to have to add your length. Add whatever length you want. And numerous of these decisions here are really going to be optional. It's just completely up to you as to how you want to do it. So to start with, I'm going to recommend you make one full front. You're going to need 2 of those. 2 whole fronts. Because in this particular case, the right front and the left front are not the same. You could, if you wanted to, make just the right because it's larger, and then reduce it down to the left, but they're different. So it's your call. But I'm going to tell you what I did is I took this, I traced it, I made 2 complete fronts, and I'm going to show you how I went from there. I did lengthen, this is the right front. Now we're going to do the right front at one time. I lengthened it 7 inches at center front. Just bring it down 7 inches. And on the right front, I shortened it to the notch, and that notch is 3 inches. So between the extension at the front and the raising at the side, I do a straight angled line, and for me that's about 14-15 inches. It's going to vary with your size, so don't worry about that number. It's just go up on the side, go down in the center, and draw a straight angled line. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go about above the French dart. It's going to be about the waistline. I'm going to go out from center front 12 inches. So just go straight out 12 inches, and it's going to be on this pattern. It might be a little wider than, you might have to add some paper. And again, I'm going to do a straight angle line to that point, and it's going to be about 22 inches. Now all of this is going to fold back, and it's going to fold a cascade. So all of these are optional, and they don't have to be exact. I just want to give you some guides to go by. Once I've done this point, I'm going to fold the pattern, because what I want to do is once I fold this back and it becomes this little cascade in the front, I want to be able to tie it into the neck edge. So I'm only coming down from the neck edge 2.5 inches. All of this is going to tie into the neck edge, and I've lowered the neck edge 2.5 inches. But again, all of that is optional. When we get into different fabrics, you can decide you want to do different things. You can lower the neckline more, you can have it fold back less. All of those are optional. So from this point to this point that was 12 inches out, I'm going to connect those because that's going to be the look of my kind of waterfall front. And what I did is I chose, and I used my French curve from 1.5 to 20. Just boom, one fell swoop. And that's what makes my pattern front. It looks really odd. I need to know where center front is, so you're tracing. If you go back to your original pattern, there's my original. It's just shorter here at the side, and I lowered the neckline. And when you fold it over, you see there's the cascade, and it ties into the neckline. Piece of cake. All right, that's the right front. Then the left front, and I've already got this all cut out and ready to go. I want a new top, I'm telling you. I'm just ready to go on this. Okay, so there's it again. Now, this is now the same length on the side seam. This is my left front. It's the same on the side seam. And if I superimpose these two together, which you could have done and just do it exactly right, this is just 4 inches less. 4 inches shorter, same height, same placement roughly, but just keep in mind this side is longer. I kept it the same length. This is narrower here, and then I drew a line that connected those two. So this is a little bit narrower on this side, it's longer on this side, and my French curve went from 1 to 9, put a little notch there, and then it went 6 to 20. And again, you want a nice curve to this front. The other one doesn't matter, but because this is shorter, that nicer curve is going to look a little bit better. And so I curved that bottom. Now again, from this point where it goes into there, that's when I fold this back, because I've got to anchor this into the neck edge. And again, I came down my 2.5 inches and I anchored that portion in and then connect those so that when this folds back, this will have a nice scallop all the way down, and you can see it's going to kind of scallop. In fact, I've already cut it. And so, well, those aren't all the pattern changes. Hang on. That's the front and the back. I'm sorry. Those are the right front and the right front and the left front. On the back, what I did is the back of this garment had a really pretty little rounded bottom. Instead of it having a straight line, it was rounded. And so I added 3 inches, the back length, and I took it to nothing. Now keep in mind, because this top, and I'm going to show you where I cut the back, because this top is asymmetric on the front sides, it has to be asymmetric on the back side. But it's easy enough to just do that little change. And I'm going to lay this on. You can see I went ahead and just cut it shorter on the one side. So I'm going to fold this in half for you because there's 2 changes I did to the back, and I want to make sure you understand what they are. When I laid this out, I wanted a little more fullness through the bottom of the back, so I pulled this away 2 inches down at the bottom from the center back. Just leave it there, leave it up top where it is, and just pull this away. And then I cut it, and I cut it all the same. Then when I opened it up, I knew that the right front is shorter, so the side that connected to the right front, I took it up to the notch. And that was my, just so I get the numbers right for you. If you don't have a notch, if you're not using this pattern, it's 3 inches shorter. So I took it and curved it from here 3 inches shorter. So you can tell by looking at this that the back side is shorter on this side than it is on that side. And that's going to lead to the whole asymmetrical feel. So you can see it's curved here. It's wider than my top would be because I wanted the fullness there. And then when I fold it, you can see that it's shorter. Okay, the sleeve I did nothing. That's all I did to the sleeve. But I do want you to see a couple things that I've done to this top. I've cut it out. And because I'm using a fabric, so that's your pattern work. Now let's go fabric. Sorry, I'm so excited. But that's the pattern work. Go back through the numbers. And again, recognize a lot of it is complete design and your choice. And don't feel like you have to do what I did. Play around with it. And different fabrics might do different things for you. I decided to use this fabric. It's a knit, but it's one side is lighter than the other side. So I want the body to be the darker, and I want the lighter to be folding back. So basically this will kind of give me a little bit of focus. And so I cut it out that way. The darker is on the base, and when you fold it back, the lighter is going to be the side that's showing. You know, today's fabrics, we get so many variations of what is the right side, what's the wrong side. Tommy Bahama's using wrong sides out and calling it the right side for a more distressed look. The fun thing is it totally gets to be your option as to what you want to do. But again, because the focal point for this particular top was going to be the lighter color or the fold that folded back, That's why I made, whoops, I'm losing my top. That's why I made the decisions that I did. All right, there's another little thing I wanted to mention to you. This has a little stripe. And because I wanted that stripe, when you go to sew this front and this front, you're going to sew the French darts first. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to sew the center front together. So notice that the center front could have still been on the fold. It wasn't on the fold because we added all this together. But I'm sewing these two sides together, and I'm sewing them right down the center front. You can see that one side is much longer than the other. I'm only going to sew them down 14 inches, say to about the waist, or a little below the waist is what I'm going to do. I measured on the original garment, it was 14 inches down, and on this particular garment, it leaves it about right there. Because I wanted that top to look exactly like there was no seam at all, when I placed it on the fabric, I placed it right in the middle of this stripe, so that my stripe will literally, as you look across the garment, you won't see any difference in pattern. I mean, you know, if you really be able to pick it up. But I placed it to where the center was right in the middle of one of these stripes, and those two middles will come together and form my front. So that's what my front will look like, and you'll see all this other asymmetric stuff going on. This will anchor into the neck edge, and so I'm just going to hem that. But in reality, if you're using a knit, you can leave the whole thing raw edges. I may just do that. We'll see. We'll see what happens. And that kind of stuff you can make decisions as you go. If I'm using a woven, you can do the same exact thing. Just start with your base of 600, the classic blouse, or the tank top if you don't want sleeves. There's so many variations you could do. This is a fabric we've had before. It's a beautiful 100% silk. And I was in New York and I saw it in the corner of one of the places I buy from, and I thought, oh my gosh, this fabric sold out so quickly before I got it back. And I just absolutely love this. This would be beautiful in this. That gradation all throughout the top. This is a woven though, so if I did that, I'd want to use like classic blouse 600 as the base, and use the sleeve, just same, you know, do the same thing. The only thing I have to consider is how do I get it on and how do I get it off. But the neckline is big enough, you wouldn't really have to have any openings. It's wide enough at the bottom because I added in the back. You'd be able to get it over the bust. So it's not really, really form-fitting. So you can take this and do it on a knit or on a woven. So the goal is to really, there's so many fun things to do with this. Again, let's go back to sewing. I'm going to sew the French dart down the center front to back, put the sleeve in, and I'm going to call it good. I'm not going to finish any of the edges. And we'll just see what happens. So I'm going to go sew this, and I'll come back and show you. My goal is to give you the ideas. Your goal is to take them to another level. So please on Facebook, post what you've done. I just love seeing all the variations, you guys. This is just a really fun top for fall. All right, I'll be back. All done? I love it. I love it. I love all the variations I made. I wouldn't change a thing. I didn't finish the edges, but it just seems to be perfect with this contemporary. If you look kind of close at the top, you see that that center is right on the stripe, so it doesn't miss a beat as it goes across. You don't really even see it if you don't do it there. So many different fabrics you can do it in, just depending on what you want. See my little... Anyway, happy sewing from Silhouette Patterns.